So we're discussing the story of how CrossFit Edwardsville got started, part 3. And I just, got telling the story of the characters, which now involves me, Caroline, and Janelle Radel, who were hanging out and doing this CrossFit thing unofficially as a church group, and it's like growing so fast for us that it was really kind of crazy. And I remember that was where we cut our chops, all of us, learning to talk nutrition, learning to speak in front of groups, because especially me, I'm super introverted, and it's super nerve-wracking for me. So we're developing our skill, practicing each week, putting together presentations for the nutrition class. And now this is where things get really interesting, because it was where things started to take off at a next level, because it had been growing pretty fast. In 2011, we'd been doing this for a while. I was officially at CrossFit Level 1. Actually, maybe it was like 2010. 2010, we expanded out from the church foyer into the Edwardsville public parks. We wanted to build something that was close to Glen Carbon or Edwardsville, because at that point, there's this vision in our mind that has started to develop. I feel like the Glen Carbon Edwardsville area could sustain a great CrossFit group, and it was like blue ocean at that time. There was nobody else out here really, not that we knew of anyway, that was doing CrossFit in the area. So we started just posting yellow signs around the community that said, free CrossFit workout in the park, 11 a.m. on Saturday, everyone's welcome. And we remember the very first Saturday we had 3-4 people maybe show up to do free CrossFit with us in the park on Saturday, 11 a.m. And then the next week it was twice that many people were there, and the week after that the number doubled again, and the number after that the next week kind of doubled again. And every week on Saturday we would take all of the dumbbells from our Ford Focus from our little apartment and drive out to the park there and set up shop and lead these workouts with everything was just straight so ghetto. It was so ghetto. We had very little to our names at the time. We're grad school students, we don't have a lot of cash, so we have the dumbbells that we were accumulating over time. And right about then, we wanted to be a little bit more be able to provide a cooler experience, better service to the people that were coming out to join us in the park. So I remember we wanted medicine balls, but we didn't have enough money for medicine balls. So we'd buy basketballs, cut them open with a knife, and pour sand to the medicine balls, tape them closed, and weigh them to see what they weighed. And those were our very first medicine balls. And in the park, some of the very first workouts we ever led were us doing wall balls against the wall of these pavilions, these free public pavilions. With just the walls as targets. That was how we did wall balls. We did medicine ball runs with those basketballs weighted down with sand. It was extremely piecemeal, everything. We bought some PVC pipes and we practiced doing barbell movements before we had bars. We literally had no bars when we first started leading CrossFit workouts in the park. Me as a burgeoning level 1 instructor, and Caroline as my tag team, my demo, my Vanna White. And she'd help me, and we just the thing just kept growing. I remember at one point we kind of went to our parents and begged for a little bit of capital to make an investment in some real equipment, so we weren't just using PVC pipes and medicine balls and whatever else we had out there, little dumbbells. And my parents invested $3,000 in our vision, in our dream, so we could go out and get real bars and real bumpers. And so it's so crazy to think about now, but like we didn't have a place to keep our bars and bumpers besides our apartment. So again, we're only having one class a week in the park on Saturday 11 a.m. Every single Saturday, we would literally load up the equipment into my Ford Focus and drive to the park and set it all up. We have to move all the park benches out from underneath the pavilion so we can have our workouts there. And at the end of the workout, we'd pack all the equipment, bars, bumpers, dumbbells, medicine balls, back into my Ford Focus and bring it back to our apartment. And the bumper plate stacks were literally our coffee tables. We just stacked them up, throw a rug over them, and that was our coffee table in our living room. The barbells that we had would lean against the corner in our living room because we didn't have any place else to keep them. And you imagine like what it's like to like driving barbells around in a Ford Focus. Ford Focuses are not like the biggest, most roomy vehicles, right? So we have to put the windows all the way down and have the barbells like hanging out the window as we're commuting back and forth. I remember thinking to, you know, and talking to Caroline, like, man, it's such a pain in the bottom. Like every workout we ever lead, we have to carry thousands of pounds of equipment over there and then thousands of pounds of equipment back, load, unload, into our apartment, out of our apartment. It was, I mean, it's crazy, the stuff we did. And we weren't getting paid $1 then either. And I remember like the Saturday workouts caught fire because it was like anybody in the area that wanted to do CrossFit was coming to hang out with us, from people from Belleville, Alton, you know, Swansea, Fairview Heights, Edwardsville, Glen Carbon, St. Louis. It didn't matter. Like it was crazy. People would drive from far and wide to be a part of our CrossFit group each Saturday, and it was just so much fun. It was this big CrossFit party every Saturday. I remember we were doing the one class a week, and we decided, you know what, I think that there's going to be interest in expanding this. So we expanded from one class a week to 2 classes a week. And I remember still to this day the phone call that I made to Janelle Radel, who had, you know, again, I met at my level 1, like, hey, are you interested in leading a Wednesday night CrossFit class? Because if you are, then we'll expand from doing 1 class a week to doing 2 classes a week, and you'll lead the Wednesday one, I'll lead the Saturday one. And she, by a miracle, like accepted this proposal. And so Janelle, who was working, I think, at the St. Louis Dream Center at the time, she expanded our class offering from 1 class a week to 2 classes a week. And it's so crazy now looking back in that, you know, CrossFit Edwardsville was a 2 classes a week fitness thing, and whatever you want to call it. So as of like 2011, we'd been doing that for a while. Late 2010, early 2011, somewhere around there. We'd been doing that for a while, and there were rumors in the community that there was another like couple of like, you know, pockets of CrossFit activity here and there, people that were looking to start their CrossFit operations in this area also. And I remember that, you know, when I got memo that there might be some other CrossFits popping up in our area in the very near future, like that was for me like kind of scary, because, you know, we were just like this ragtag group in the park, and we're like, oh man, like are we about to get like run over by like a legit operation? Again, because we don't know anything, like we're just, you know, out there in the park just kind of, you know, fidgeting. So I remember like Caroline and I decided that this was the time we had to become official. And so we scratched together all the cash that we had to make the bid to apply to CrossFit HQ to become a real CrossFit gym. I remember writing the essay. I remember we, you know, put all the little cash we had together to become a real CrossFit thing, and CrossFit accepted us. But one more detail that I should mention is that when we first envisioned this CrossFit thing that we were growing and developing, we wanted to call it CrossFit Salvation. That was the vision that we had. We'd, you know, ever since our very first workouts in the park, we'd always started every workout with a prayer, which kind of, it harkened back to our beginnings as a church group. we just decided, you know what, like that's our heart, that's our spirit. We want to pray for people at the start of every workout that we do. That's just, you know, that's the style we have, our character, and we know that some people won't dig that, but that was how we wanted to be, and we, you know, we recognized it kind of made us unique, but it was also, you know, it set the right tone, it helped us set our mindset right at the start of every workout. But anyway, so we were going to be CrossFit Salvation. That was going to be our name. And I remember when we were getting ready to apply for being a CrossFit gym, I did a quick Google search on CrossFit Salvation, and there's already a Florida gym that had that name. That was a very bad day for me because, you know, in a sense, like the name that I wanted to have was then taken. It wasn't available anymore. It kind of broke my heart a little bit. In retrospect, it was one of the greatest gifts that could have happened to us, I think, because CrossFit Edwardsville, we switched and we pivoted, that became our name. I think the fact that we had the name associated with our CrossFit operation ended up being like really valuable for us in terms of like branding and messaging and marketing in the future. But at the time it was like really heartbreaking. But you know, we swallowed the bitter pill. We couldn't be CrossFit Salvation, so we made a bid to be CrossFit Edwardsville. Anyway, so CrossFit headquarters accepted, and so we basically we've got very little cash, but we've got some bars, some plates, some dumbbells, and we're now officially a CrossFit affiliate. That was when it was time for us to make the next really big, really scary step, which was for us to get a commercial facility and actually, you know, sign a 2-year lease. I remember like the search for our very first CrossFit facility, like that was exciting, but it was also terrifying because we're like, I mean, we're just, you know, a couple of, you know, poor recently graduated college kids, and we don't have a lot of funds, and we're signing on the line now to pay something like $2,000 plus a month for our first commercial brick and mortar facility. And up until that day, like almost nobody has paid even $1 to be a part of our CrossFit thing. It's so crazy. We'd had a couple of folks that had been hanging out with us in our park group. One was Scott Telford. He absolutely was on fire for the CrossFit thing. He got level 1 certified. Jessica Durr was on fire for the CrossFit thing. She had gone to grad school with me, and then when I started the park group, she ended up joining the park group. She went to get her level 1, and so then at that point, Caroline had gotten her level 1 also. So before we even have a brick and mortar facility, we're looking around like, how could we possibly make this a legit operation? Because we got to have classes like all through the day if this is going to be legit. So we basically like hired every level 1 that was in our squad, and all of us became coaches at the original CrossFit episodes. So me, Caroline, Janelle, Scott, Jessica Durr, Shane O'Brien, a whole squad, man. And we would the design would be that we go to this facility and we take turns leading classes at different times of day. And man, it was terrifying because now we got payroll. Now we've got, we have to create a membership structure, and we got a $2,000 a month overhead just for the facility. Again, we have never ever taken like hardly any money from any of our people before then. The whole thing was just terrifying for us, terrifying. And that I guess that closes this chapter of the story. And I'll tell you guys more in the next one.